Are you betrayal blind? Do you know what that means? Many of us are betrayal blind. We suffer from betrayal blindness and we don't even realize it. Welcome back. My name is Michele Paradise and I make self-healing accessible to everyone. So let's get started. Today I'm going to talk about betrayal blindness in a narcissistic relationship. I want to be really specific here because it is something that happens in so many narcissistic relationships, and it really stops us, and I say us because I have also been in narcissistic relationships. It stops us from waking up and getting out. So I'm going to give you a little scenario of what betrayal blindness might look like in a narcissistic relationship. Let's say you catch your partner cheating, you see something on their phone, or you literally catch them cheating, and you have a confrontation with that person. And now, in a non-narcissistic relationship, that will probably be a lot more reasonable of a conversation. You know, there may be an apology from the cheating party. They may promise to never do it again and mean it. And that might be it. It might be over. And maybe you have some counseling, some couples therapy, whatever. In a narcissistic relationship, it doesn't go that well. Now, this is just one example. There will be many, so don't just use this one example as the only way. But in a narcissistic relationship, I promise you there will be a lot of gaslighting. There will be a lot of denial of having done anything wrong. And I know this, as I say, on a personal level, because this is exactly what happened in my marriage. And I believed it. I chose to be betrayal blind, because there were so many things that were at stake, let's say. For women in particular, sometimes, not always, there can be financial issues. In my situation, I had two small children. One was less than 6 months old, and I was very physically and emotionally attached to both of them, especially my baby, and it was very difficult for me, almost impossible for me to see it, even though it was there. And I ignored it for years, and the reason I do these videos is to reduce some of the shame around this, because you may look at me and think, well, she should know better, but I'm human just like you are. And sometimes, even the more we know about something and we use it in our work for others, we don't see it for ourselves. You've heard the expression, healer, heal thyself, which is a sure word has not been said. So betrayal blindness is really ignoring all the red flags, and there will be many. And this is what happens to people in narcissistic relationships with a narcissist, because frequently we are codependent. We have trauma bonded with that person, and we need the drama or the excitement. If you're in relationship with let's say a golden child narcissist, where their life is very, full of things because they've been given things all their lives, emotionally, financially, and they can sometimes be extremely charismatic. Life is a lot of fun with them for periods of time, and it's hard to get away from them. On the other end of the spectrum, you might be with a narcissist that did not get their needs met, did not have attunement to their parent figures and caregivers in their childhood. So you might be looking at them as if they are a bird with a broken wing and you want to heal them. And this happens to a lot of us as well. So we get very entwined, we get trauma bonded with that person, and we lose ourselves in that relationship, and we no longer are connecting to ourselves, because all of our validation is coming from out there. It's not coming from in here. And this was very much my situation. I actually had video evidence, which I won't go into at the moment, of my husband cheating, talking to the woman, following her. This was in a social situation, flirting with her. And I later found out that she and he were cheating, and to, add another dimension to it, she was also my best friend. So I had extreme betrayal blindness, because I just couldn't believe that either of them would do that to me as I saw it. And she was my best friend. She was my birth partner. There was a lot of overlap in our lives, and I chose to see her as this amazing person, and I must have had it wrong. So I stayed very blind to what was going on for a long time. And when I did discover that they were having an affair, I, as you can imagine, was quite furious with both of them. And he promised me that he would never go back into that relationship again. It was over. Now, because he is a narcissist, he used a lot of manipulation and techniques with me. Things like the big gaslighting one in a relationship can be your partner says to you, actually, I'm not the one that's having an affair. You are so jealous and suspicious. I think you're the one who's having the affair. And that is a classic gaslighting move. And you know inside that you're not having an affair. However, you begin to question what perception your partner has of you. I know this may sound crazy, but we get into a very crazy space when we are with a narcissist because we really lose sight of ourselves. And the thing is, as you know, there are three major parts of a narcissistic relationship. There's the love bombing part, which is wonderful for most of us. You know, that can last from 6 days to a year, and it is beautiful, overwhelming. You feel seen in a way that you've never felt seen by anyone in your life, and that feels great. And even seeing you is a lot, but they go beyond seeing you. They go beyond sort of second guessing you and knowing what you need before you need it. So that is a wonderful period of time for all of us. The second stage, which isn't wonderful, is devaluation. And that's where betrayal can really come into that phase. They begin to devalue you, consciously to you or unconsciously to you. And that is what, you know, their cheating can look like. You might not have any idea. I didn't. I had no idea. I was very busy breastfeeding my baby, looking after my small son, moving into a new home, and I didn't actually have time to think about it. And maybe there was a part of me that didn't really want to think about it because the repercussions of that would be incredible. So I chose not to think about it, not to look at it, even though I had video evidence of what was going on with the two of them. So that was a very long devaluation stage. And for most of it, I wasn't even aware of it. And when I use myself as an example, this really isn't a story about me. This is just safer for me to use myself to explain, and also for you to hear what it can look like on a very personal level, and to release some of the shame around whatever it is that you might be holding on to, having been in a narcissistic relationship or at the moment in a narcissistic relationship. And I hope that by sharing my stories with you, bits of my stories with you, that you can release some of that shame and you can grow and you can wake up. I really want you to wake up. That's the most important thing, because I was asleep for so long, and I didn't realize what was going on in my life because I needed him, and I was willing to put up with a lot of things and not see a lot of things. And these traits, this devaluation stage, can really be a very toxic environment. And we really overlook the harmful behaviors of the person, and or we rationalize them. I believed him. I believed that he was helping her out because I was very busy with small children and she needed some help with her family. And I just overlooked it. I chose to overlook it. And that I do not recommend to anyone. So there's going to be a lot of denial in betrayal blindness, a lot of rationalization, and a lot of cognitive dissonance, meaning that you have these sort of two ends of the spectrum and you kind of bounce between the two, you know, where you absolutely believe there is an affair going on, there is betrayal going on, and then you bounce to the other end of it and you go, no, they would never do that to me. I don't have enough evidence. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to say anything. So we stay silent. And this can really, if you imagine, it's like our head going back and forth, this can bruise our brains. And sometimes it just shuts us down and we go into a frozen state of not wanting to deal with it, especially if there's so much else going on in our life, which in my case there was. So this devaluation stage can last for years. It can last for weeks. It can last for months. Mine lasted for years. And even though I didn't really speak to her any longer about it after the initial conversation, telling her that I realized that she was having an affair with my husband and that I wanted nothing else to do with her, I I absolutely believed it was over with him. And then 2 years later, I found out that it wasn't, and that they actually had a child together, unbeknownst to me. Now, this whole time, we were married. He came home every night, almost, and he was seemingly a decent husband and father and all of those things, but he had a double life. He had several double lives. This was only one of his betrayals, and I won't go into the other ones now because this one is really helpful to understanding what I mean by betrayal blindness. And they have this ability to intermittently reinforce their love for you, or what they believe is their love for you, and they go back to the love bombing phase. So when they're afraid that they're just about to lose you, then so for example, when I found out about the affair and he promised me that he wouldn't do it again, there was a lot of love bombing for a short period of time, not for a long period of time. So there's that intermittent reinforcement that you are still his or her number one. And that keeps us going for a long time. It really does keep us going, which again can be extremely dangerous because we become blind again. We put the blinkers on. We don't look right or left. We just look straight ahead. And a lot of us use distraction to keep us going. Now, I had natural distraction because I had two small children. But, some people get very focused on other things and they just don't want to see what is happening around them. So when I found out that they had a child together, I'm sure you can imagine what that felt like. And I was ready to leave, but I also still had two very small children. So I chose to be blind even longer. And he promised that it was absolutely over. And the intermittent reinforcement looked like, well, I'm with you, I'm not with her. And that was meant to make me feel better, which it didn't, because I actually felt so much for that child that wasn't going to have a father in their life. And I also felt, very sad for our children that they were going to share this father, and they had a sister that they didn't know about, and that was going to be something that was going to be part of their journey of discovery. And how are we going to navigate that? So I chose not to do anything. I chose to freeze and stay put and just do my best to make things right, to create harmony, and to carry on. And I did that for a couple more years until I didn't. And I'll save that story for another one of my videos, because the story gets even more multi-layered, fascinating, with more betrayal blindness. So I hope this has helped you to understand just a little bit of what betrayal blindness can look like. I'd love you to take a moment after this video to really go inside and do some self-reflection. You may not even know that you're in a narcissistic relationship. You may be in the love bombing stage of a narcissistic relationship. You may be in the devaluation stage of a narcissistic relationship. Or maybe you're on the other side of the discarded part of the narcissistic relationship, because that's the final one. That's the one that happens when they just get rid of you. But it's not over. So I really would like you to do some self-reflection around that and see how you are in this relationship. Are you being blind? Have you had a lot of red flags? Because remember, this trauma bond that we have with this narcissist from our side means that we are wounded. We have trauma. And for a lot of us, it's unhealed. We haven't even begun our healing journey. So we need this person to manipulate us, to lie to us, because our expectations about self, about relationships, are probably very, very low. And that is the first step to healing, is awareness. We must become aware of what type of relationship we are in and aware of what part we are playing in that. Because it does take two to tango. People find it very easy to blame the narcissist for everything. It's not their fault. It is not completely their fault. Because without us, they wouldn't have this trauma bond. So we need to learn about this, become aware of it, protect ourselves so we don't get into narcissistic relationships in the future. Because if you don't, you will. I promise you, you will continue to manifest narcissistic relationships if you don't work on yourself and do your own self-healing. So I just want to leave you with that thought. I'd really like you, after this video, to go inside and to really connect with yourself. And this is a great technique that I use. I want you to see your relationship here, okay? But I want you to float out from your relationship and look down on it. So you're the third person. You're like a bystander that sees these two people interacting. And I want you to figure out, I just want you to look at that relationship and see what you think is going on with those people. It's so much easier for us to get information from our own relationship when we can dissociate from it and look at it from a different position, which I call the third position. And so it's not from your first position through your eyes, it's not from the second position through his or her eyes, it's from the third position of looking at these two people interacting with each other. And that will definitely give you a lot of information. So all it remains for me to say is thank you very much for watching this video to the end. Please hit the subscribe button. I have so many more videos coming up and I don't want you to miss any of them. Stay safe, keep well, see you soon. Thank you.